Hello, I'm Brendon Small. If you know me, it's from one of two TV shows, one called Home Movies, the other one called Metalocalypse. I made a lot of music on those shows, and the gear I used is going to be part of the official Brendon Small Reverb shop. Welcome. It's nice to have you. I have a lot of guitars. I have some bits and pieces of studio gear, but mostly guitars. I play guitar, I like guitars. I have a lot of guitars. When I saw guitars when I was really little, when I was like 6 or 7 years old, I just kept looking at them and going like, you know, at some point, you and I are gonna meet and we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna sort this out. And when I was 11 years old, I mowed lawns for a summer and I saved up money because I saw at Toys R Us a guitar, an $84 guitar that had a speaker inside of it. Thought, I'm gonna save up my money and I'm gonna go buy it. And I bought it. And I got it and I brought it home and I did not know what to do with it. And it was just a disaster. And I would just like hit the open strings, go, and I was like, well, this is impossible. And about 3 years later, I made a friend in junior high, and that dude was like the dude. And he's still my good friend, my buddy Renzo. He told me on the bus, he said, I can play guitar. And he said, meet me after school, I'm gonna show you. And I did, and that day was like the most important day of my, of my life maybe, because not only did he have a guitar, not only could he play it, but he also kind of introduced me to everything from Metallica to Slayer to King Diamond to Joe Satriani to Yngwie Malmsteen to Blue Oyster Cult to Led Zeppelin, which I hadn't heard any of this stuff, and I was like 13, 14 at the time. So he kicked the door open into the dark world of guitar and heavy metal, and I've kind of been there ever since. So that's the origin of all of it. And he showed me in one day to play Iron Man, and he showed me a blues shuffle, and I learned how to mute and all that stuff. And I was playing guitar. I tuned my guitar back, my little Toys R Us guitar, I tuned it, and I was off to the races. Yeah. The next guitar was, I saved my money and I went to the Guitar Center. I lived in Salinas, which is like basically a lettuce field. There's nothing to do but to watch lettuce grow. And so guitar would be like, you know, running scales all the time. But I went to Guitar Center one day and I saw an affordable guitar that I liked a lot, which was called a Gibson Epiphone Spotlight. But I had it for a while, and then I went from that to an Ibanz Joe Satriani model. I love now and loved then Joe Satriani. And so it was an okay guitar. As you buy gear, you kind of downgrade a little bit sometimes for a cooler looking guitar, but both worked. And then, yeah, I can keep going with this forever and talk about my guitar after that. This is my first Les Paul. This is on sale. This I bought in Boston. I went to Berklee College of Music, and afterwards I got into stand-up comedy, and afterwards I got into TV. I knew I wanted another guitar. I was like, I had a job that paid very little, which was home movies, but I saved up enough money to buy this guitar because I was like, I'm gonna get myself something nice. I got a TV show. And I got this Les Paul Premium Plus from Cambridge Music. I swapped out the pickups, which you'll see in a lot of these guitars. I screwed around. Like I said, what are these? Oh, I think these are DiMarzios. So yeah, I just messed around with lots of different pickups. But yeah, this is the Home Movies guitar. This is the Metalocalypse early days, early demos guitar. Well, there's one other Home Movies guitar, but it got stolen. So this is the Home Movies guitar. So if you heard music on Home Movies, it was probably 50% chance that it was done with this guitar. So this one probably has the most TV show cross-pollination DNA of all the guitars that I'm gonna show you today. A little dusty, but look at it. It's beautiful. Why would I sell this? What kind of an idiot would sell these guitars? I have so many guitars. This is probably the most vintage guitar I have, really. This is like an early 80s E2 Explorer, right? So this is a tobacco burst. It's in really good shape. It plays great. I took it on tour when Death Clock co-headlined with Mastodon back in the 2000s. Well, somebody did some kind of a mod on it somewhere along the way, so when it's in middle position, you get that Brian May kind of phase reversing, kind of like out of phase kind of thing, and it's really cool. Metalocalypse was basically about me, after music school, after comedy and all that stuff, falling back in love with my guitar and wanting a good excuse to play it and to get paid to play it, you know? So I was creating my own job, and I thought, what's the best job I could possibly create? One where I get to play guitar. So even though I was working with Gibson anyway on the show, because I wanted to have real guitars on the show and be able to animate them properly, and all that. I thought the coolest for heavy metal was basically Metallica, V's, and Explorers. And I knew Gibson could give me all that stuff. And so while I was, I think this is probably around like the first season or so I bought this. This guitar kind of inspired the Thunder Horse is what it's called, the guitar that I put out with Gibson. Because I saw a black and white photo of this, and I thought, oh, I've never seen a silver burst of this. And it looks like a silver burst in the black and white photo. So I talked to him, and we started putting guitars together. But yeah, it's really cool. I'm gonna keep it. This is the Thunder Horse. So this is a Gibson, this is like the USA run. We only made like 250 of them, I think. And these are hard to come by these days, especially one that's in this kind of shape. Look at the plastic still on the pick guard. It's in really good shape, classic like burst buckers. It's just like classic rock and roll. You could play everything from Cannibal Corpse to Steely Dan on this if you want to. The one that I loved the most was they did a matte version with very little paint. And so it wasn't as glossy. That was like my main one. But that one got stolen. Yeah. Oh. So years ago, like a couple years ago, like during the pandemic or just a little after, I had a movie to make, the Metalocalypse Army of the Doomstar movie. I had a Death Album 4 to make. I was in rehearsals because we're about to go and do a big Adult Swim festival in Philadelphia. And we were renovating. And I think somebody saw me with guitars leaving this kind of abandoned house. And the next morning, this place was broken into. And all these guitars that I put out to record all that stuff with, I had a movie to make, I had 2 albums to make, a film score album and a Death Clock record. And somebody broke in and a team, because there's no way you could carry 12 guitars, and took my favorite guitars that I had laid out for all these recording things. So my favorite guitars that I owned were just gone, and I had to fly out that night and go play a show. So I grabbed my Epiphone Ghost Horse back there. You can see it, the Explorer. And I did the show, and I didn't even get a chance to mourn or to weep or anything, because I'm the boss and it's just bad optics if I'm crying on stage at a Death Clock show. So I held it all in. And then I also just realized, you know, they can steal my guitars, but they can't take my fingers, but they can, maybe. One was a Moog guitar, and I had big plans with that, because that's like 2 Sustainiac kind of pickups. It creates a magnetic field, and it's really cool, and there's a pedal and all that stuff. That one, I had a Warmoth guitar, just a cheap Warmoth guitar that was made with parts. A guy named Bill DeLapp put it together for me. He also built guitars for Alan Holdsworth up in Northern California. That guitar just had a lot of old mojo. I don't know if I loved the way it sounded. I loved the way it played, and it's just logged hours. I just wore the frets down on that one, just working on, you know, shred licks and stuff like that all throughout my music school career and home movies and all that stuff. In fact, I carved my name into the headstock, like crudely, like a kid would, with like a pocket knife on the headstock of that thing. And that guitar's gone. I had a 12-string neck-through body SG tobacco burst that was really cool. Prototype of this guitar with the kind of matte painting on it, which I really liked. Some really cool Les Paul reissues and stuff. So yeah, so they're gone. What are you gonna do? Life is for the living. So yeah, so it was a bittersweet kind of time, but it also allowed me to go, all right, those guitars are gone. What's next for guitars for me? But yeah, so I just realized I could part with some of this stuff. Also, part of the reason I'm doing this whole thing, this whole getting rid of guitars thing, is because it cost me money to have guitars. I never thought that would be possible, but it cost me money to store them. It cost me money to keep them somewhere, and if I'm not storing them, then I'm hoarding them in a house, and then there are rooms I'm not going into because they're just filled with guitars. So, and the worst part is none of them are getting played at all. So what am I doing? What am I doing with all these guitars? Being robbed helped me realize that I could part with some of my things and still live a fruitful life. But yeah, this is in great shape, and this could be yours. It's really cool. I shouldn't sell this. I shouldn't do it. I'm not gonna sell it. I'm keeping it. So here we are, it's like, you know, 2007 or something like that, and Metalocalypse is, you know, people are watching it. It's really cool, and people are interested in the music. Everything's working out nicely. And I'm talking to Gibson, we're talking about guitars, and I think this is before we even did a real proper, the Thunder Horse or anything. We were talking about an Epiphone version first. And so somebody came up with this idea of the Metalocalypse logo on the fretboard. And I remember Joe Satriani, I had this in my office, and Joe Satriani was in the office because I cast my guitar heroes as voices on the show. So Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Billy Gibbons shows up at some point. Dave Grohl's on the show, you know, like lots of Slash is on the show. There's so many different people. Dweezil Zappa's on the show, Kim Thayil's on the show. And so I wanted to build something, you know, but Satriani looked at this guitar and he goes, Epiphone's making really cool stuff these days. And he goes, how do you know where the hell you are on this guitar? And I go, well, there are these little dots on the side so you can see. So, you know, and that really does help me because when you're singing and you're looking down, all you can see is like your E string and dots. So you have to like see everything else. But this is cool, it's matte black, it's got EMGs, it's got a little battery pack back there. Look, it comes with strap locks, right? Pretty cool. But yeah, this is a prototype. It's got these crazy tuners on them too now. This is one of 2 prototypes. So this never got put into production. This is a very unique guitar. It's really cool, and it's got that logo right there. It's in really good shape. I kept some of these nice, and you'll see some of them I didn't keep so nice. This is a one of 2 actually. So it's a 2 of a kind, because I have 2 of these that didn't get put into production. So a cool one, exclusive, you can only get it here. And I'm not selling it. I'm keeping it. This is ridiculous. This is, I've always loved Ibanez's because of my guitar heroes, Satriani and Steve Vai and all these other great players who play these things. But this is, let me see if I can reveal this. So this is an early guitar in Metalocalypse lore because I did, I think, the theme song demo with this. And this is when I was starting to tune down and find like that C standard was really going to work for the show. But this was like, you know, this wasn't like the top of the line Iceman you could get. This was something that was like something affordable. And then I said, since I had these other guitars, I told my brother, I said, do you think you could extract the frets and maybe like turn this into a fretless guitar? And he said, yeah, give it to me. And so he did it. And this is what it looks like now. And it really does work. It is a fretless guitar. And it's really crazy that it really does work. It is not well kept together. It is, but I don't even know what it sounds like at this point. But this is a piece of crazy historical junk. You're not going to find a guitar like this anywhere unless you're at maybe a dump site. And then it's got some wooden, I don't know where, oh, this must have come from an old Gibson, like the BFG guitar. Anyway, this is like mad scientist stuff at work. I don't know if I use it for any recording or anything. Oh, except for the original Metalocalypse stuff. So the Death Clock theme on the original demo. Yeah, there were frets at that time, now no frets. A piece of cartoon history, and I'm keeping it. So this is a cool guitar. This is super cool. This is a Joan Jet. It's a melody maker. You can't get more simple than this. It's so cool. It's got one pickup, one humbucker there. I took this on the road. I packed too many guitars. I was too young and stupid, and I packed too many guitars on my, in I guess 2009, when Death Clock and Mastodon co-headlined together. When we were first there, the first day, we had like a kind of a production run. It was meeting them all for the first time. And they're all kind of sniffing around, like sniffing me out and trying to figure out who I was. And I was talking to them. And Brent Hines put his name, he liked this guitar, so he put his name on the guitar. I don't know if he was trying to like keep it or something like that, but I thought it really made me laugh, so I kept it there forever. And so this was on the tour. I would play it off stage mostly, but it's a really cool guitar. It's in great shape. And there's Joan Jet's name, and she's awesome too. I remember touring with Mastodon was really fun because they were like really lovable bad dogs. You know, like, hey, you're not supposed to be up on that couch. You know that. You know, like you're being very bad. But seriously, really made friends with those guys and really loved hanging out with them. So anyway, Joan Jet Guitar, pretty cool, right? Guess what? I'm keeping it. I'm not selling it. Oh. Okay, this is some Death Clock history. So you'll see on some of these guitars, I took light steel wool and kind of gave a matte finish on these backs. I basically voided the warranty. This is an 61 SG reissue, and it's a really cool guitar, and it really sounds like Angus Young. You know, it just sounds like it has that, you know, that pickup is pushed very far to the back, so you get that nice, just nasally twang out of it. And it's a really cool guitar. I use this on Death Album 1. I use it on a couple songs, but I know I use it on one song called Kill You. This was the guitar, and it's really cool. I shouldn't sell it. What am I doing? What am I doing here? Oh no. This is my first V that I got. Again, I went to Guitar Center. I think I saw this, and this is just like a good classic USA V. And it's got a good, you know, not too heavy, not too light. I think I swapped out for EMGs because the show was working with EMG. It sounds really great. I'm trying to remember. I know I did like, I played this in LA a lot. I would do shows at comedy places and stuff, and I remember doing some live stuff where I'd bring this guitar out just because it looked so cool, and it's just kind of classic. Oh, I may have had this for like even that Home Movies DVD, I think, maybe, where I did like a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff. I may have used this on some of that stuff. This is early Metalocalypse demo days too, so this is around, this probably got on some recording, but it definitely was one of the guitars that, before I had too many guitars, if that's even a real thing, this was like one of my small batch, so I was definitely using this on the early days of Metalocalypse. Here's a guitar I bought from Ibanz. This is the JS2400. This is a great guitar. I shouldn't sell it. I'll say that right now. Remember, I told you, so my first guitar was the Toys R Us guitar. My second guitar was this Gibson Spotlight Epiphone. My third guitar was a copy of this, like a more affordable version of this one, because of how much I love Joe Satriani. And at some point I was like, I'm going to repurchase that guitar and the cool version of it. So I got this one, and it's got push-pull pots, and it's got this pickup right next to the 24th fret, so it still has really good tone before you're pushing your pickup too far back. It sounds really great. I use it on the Galacticon records. I was about to make Death Album 2, and we hadn't sorted out the contract, but I had already reserved Gene Hoglan, the drummer, and Ulrich Wild, who's co-producer guy I've worked with forever, and a space, a place called the Bomb Shelter, which was down in, downtown Hollywood. So I was sitting there, I didn't have the contract finished, so I didn't have the money, so I said, okay, I guess I'm paying for this place, so I'm not doing Death Clock stuff yet. So I took a hard drive full of just songs that I didn't think were Death Clock songs. They were like too melodic or too, too much not Death Clock. So I recorded a record called Galacticon, and I said, I'm gonna figure this out. Like, a week later, we got the contract finished and we started on Death Album 2, but in that time I recorded a record called Galacticon. And I got this guitar around that time, and I used it on solo on Galacticon, but I'm keeping it. But I'm gonna keep it. Oh. All right, see you later. I love you. This is, I shouldn't sell this. First of all, let me just say I shouldn't sell this. This is a really great Firebird, and it sounds exactly like with the mini humbuckers and everything. I used this for, on Metalocalypse, the character Pickles had a band called Snakes and Barrels, which was kind of an homage to Guns N' Roses. And I used this on any song that was a Snakes and Barrels song, because I just wanted it to hit. But this thing is, look at it, it's like a charcuterie board. It's beautiful. You could eat gabagool off of this and present it, and I think whoever got it would be happy to have it. But yeah, this is an awesome guitar. Let me just say I shouldn't sell this, but I'm just gonna sell it, I think. I'm still thinking about it. Anyway, this is a prototype, one-of-a-kind prototype. And you can tell it's a prototype because I had this pickup moved a little bit farther back, almost more like the SG, where it's a little bit more by the bridge. This is, so I thought I worked with Epiphone, and I got to do some cool stuff with this guitar. This is kind of cool because it's actually wider than a normal Explorer. I got to move some wood around, which is a big deal with like, Epiphone or Gibson, because everything's kind of like classic with their gear. So I got to like pull the guitar outwards and make it a little bit more kind of, in my mind, a little bit more aesthetically kind of like easier on the eye. We have push-pull pots on these things, Floyd Rose, and 24 frets on an Explorer, so something you usually don't get. On top of that, we got to like bevel the edge a little bit more on the back of it, so it's a little bit more grip friendly up high, because getting up to these frets is a little bit more difficult. And it's got my signature on the back of it right there. So if you want to forge checks, I guess I've shown you how to do it. Cool guitar, prototype, one of a kind. Still sorting out the colors at that point. It would end up kind of being that more gray one, but this is really interesting what it turned into. It's kind of green. So there's that guitar. And I'm keeping it. A while back, I did some clinics with Carvin, and they traded me this guitar for these clinics I did. Through Steve Vai. He was like, hey, you want to do something? Like, the next thing I know, I'm doing clinics for Carvin. I'm like, okay. And it was really fun. It was a good challenge. And I said, build me an 8-string because I don't have one. And so they built this one. It's got this spalted maple top. It's really beautiful. It's a super cool guitar. But I'm selling it, but I'm keeping it. And I used it on a song called Nightmare off of Galacticon 2. This guitar is super cool. It should be yours. You're gonna get more use out of it than I am. But it's pretty badass. I really, really like the way the paint looks. And I just don't know which string is which. That's my only problem. Sitar, I bought a sitar off eBay because it was available. And I thought, I'm gonna use this at some point. I love the way sitars sound, like real sitars. Like, listening to Ravi Shankar and all that stuff, and John McLaughlin and all that stuff, and Shakti and all those nerdy things. I loved it, so I had one, and I use it. It's on home movies, it's on the TV show, it's on Metalocalypse. There's a point where they go to the Middle East at some point, and I use it. That's the story. eBay, it shows up, this gigantic thing shows up in my little apartment, and I'm like, where am I gonna put this? So I have like a huge, it's really, you know, they're made out of pumpkins, basically. Oh yeah, that's a cool modded Bogner. So it's when Bogner and Line 6 got together and did something. So it's got some like delays and effects in it, but they modded that amp for me. So Reinhold Bogner and his team modded it. So it's got a really cool like, just like mid boost in it. And there's a Crank 4x12. Crank was like endorsed by Dimebag, and then then he died, you know? And I met with the company and I said, we're doing a TV show. We'd love to show your amps, because no one else kind of understood what we were doing, except for Gibson understood that I was making, they knew what Adult Swim was. They're like, we know what this is. We know what home movies was. Okay. And then I was talking to other amp companies like, we don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I was like, fair enough. But Crank was like, we know what that is. We want to be a part of it. So you can see Cranks in like the first like 3 seasons of the show. First 2 maybe, and then we switched to Marshalls. Just like, they switched gears, just like other musicians do. They switched gear brands. So anyway, that stuff's on sale too. Go to the Reverb shop and check out all this crazy gear, and it could all be yours. Can you believe it? I can't. I think I'm gonna keep it though. There's gonna be so much more stuff than the stuff I even talked about. Sift through, poke around, see what you like. Go to Reverb, and you can learn more about the gear that will be for sale. Hi, and goodbye.